the best I can do is leave everything alone today. We ready? All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Call the meeting to order, much like our town crier. Now, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. We'll call this afternoon's public meeting of the February 24, 2015 public meeting of the Mount Pearl City Council underway. The first thing you have in front of you, ladies and gentlemen, would be the agenda for the meeting today. I'm going to ask for a motion. It is moved by Councillor Ledwell, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Are there any additions to the agenda? I have, I think, one presentation that I'm going to add under proclamations and presentations dealing with housing and homelessness. Nothing else. Anybody with anything else to add to the agenda this afternoon? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, motion is carried. Moving to the minutes of the action report of the public meeting of February 17th. The public meeting of February 17th, a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Aker. Any errors or omissions? Errors or omissions from the minutes of the 17th? If not, call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. Business arising, please reference an agenda number that would be by each of the items discussed from that meeting. Councillor Stoyles.
090.
I'm sorry?
090.
090?
090.
Right,
the Canada Post
right to the end of the report we go.
The end of the report. I'm just wondering what follow-up was done from staff and which member of staff did follow up on this and what the conclusion was, and because I have heard from a couple. This
was in reference to Canada Post.
In reference to Canada Post and the issue with the mailboxes being frozen and then broken, and residents waiting up to 5 days to be able to access that mailbox and get their mail. And it happened on a Thursday, and it was the following Wednesday. I spoke to the individual resident that couldn't get access to her mailbox, and she was waiting on a check to come in and didn't, important mail to come in, and she had to wait almost a week to get it. And I've heard from several other people since then with issues with Canada Post, and I'm just wondering. So
the question is, was the follow-up done, and what was the outcome of it?
Thank you.
Mr. Yevchek.
Your Worship, there was, based on the discussion or the comment made at the last council meeting, there was email sent to Canada Post regarding the matter, advising of the complaints and asking for follow-up. I don't believe we've heard anything back from them at this point, but we will be in contact with them shortly, not only on that matter, but the whole issue about the mailbox locations as well, in which we can raise it again. If there is, just to Councillor Stoyles' comment, if there's other people that had issues as well, if we could just send the information to me, Councillor Stoyles, I'll forward on to Canada Post as well. Okay.
I certainly will. So you're saying, because we had our last meeting a week ago, so we contacted Canada Post a week ago, pretty shortly after our meeting last Tuesday, and so it's been a week now since they even contacted us back and haven't contacted us back. And when my concern is, when we met with Canada Post back in September, October, they had said to us, we're going to be pretty swift on all these kind of things. Now
they're going to be wonderful.
Yeah, they're going to be wonderful. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, people are waiting. And can't get access to the mailboxes. We do have harsh winters, and it's very difficult for people to get access to the mailbox in the snowbanks. And we haven't had a bad winter this year. Thank God. We've had really only one major snowstorm. Imagine what it's going to be like if we had a winter like we had last year, the difficulties that people are going to have. And not only that, they only have less than 40% of mailboxes in all Mount Pearl. Next year, they're saying they're going to have 100% of Mount Pearl covered. So it's going to be quite difficult for people here in Mount Pearl to access the mailboxes if we have any amount of snow.
Thank you, Councillor, very much. Any other comment? Any other business arising from the minutes of February 17th meeting? Hearing none. Hearing none, we're going to move on. council proclamations presentations today. We have 3 of them that we're going to address. The very first one is Nutrition Month, and we have with us, going to ask them to identify themselves, 2 dietitians, Jennifer Wood and Stephanie O'Brien. Which is which? You're Jennifer and you're Stephanie. I'm going to get you guys to come up here with me for a minute. I'm going to read this into the record, and then we're going to get, as they say, we'll get our snap took. We'll have our likeness done. And then, and I have a question for you about the proclamation. I'm not sure. Does council have a copy of the proclamation in front of them? They do? Okay, maybe you'll all have the same question. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the goal of National Nutrition Month is to encourage all Canadians to eat well, and whereas registered dietitians are a trusted source of credible nutrition information and are launching a campaign focusing on helping consumers make healthier food choices, and whereas Canadians are interested in healthy eating and want information to help them achieve this goal, dietitians offer nutrition resources as well as interactive tools on the Dietitians of Canada website, which is www.dietitians.ca. And whereas to celebrate National Nutrition Month, the Dietitians of Newfoundland and Labrador have organized many fun and educational events, and these events can be found on the Dietitians of Canada Nutrition Month activity map, which I'm assuming is on the website. Yes. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Randy Sims of the City of Mount Pearl, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2015 Nutrition Month in the City of Mount Pearl, and I will, on behalf of Council, affix my signature, and I'm going to invite both of you, or one of you, whichever chooses, to use this particular microphone. And if you would, I invite you to tell Council about your plans for the month of March.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Sims. So, as he just mentioned, Nutrition Month is an annual event organized by Dietitians of Canada to promote healthy eating among Canadians. And this year's theme, Healthy Eating 9 to 5, is geared at inspiring Canadians to eat better at work and make positive changes for an improved nutrition environment in the workplace. So the workplace is an ideal setting to start thinking about healthy eating, because doing so has been shown to actually boost concentration, productivity, and vitality. It's also been shown to reduce missed days of work by improving overall health.
So, well, Mayor Sims has already mentioned the Dietitians of Canada website, but we would encourage you all to also visit the Nutrition Month website, which is www.nutritionmonth2015.ca, and there you'll find lots of great resources and tips for how to make eating healthy at work easier. And we know that there are 5 common challenging times that people experience in their workday, such as rush mornings, meetings and events, lunchtime, the midday slump, and then the commuter cravings. So if you go over to the Nutrition Month 2015.ca website.
Is that what that is? Commuter craving?
It's true, yes. Yep. It has a name. Yeah, exactly. The midday slump, yeah.
We all know the midday slump.
So we all experience them, so I'm sure we'd like to find some tips on how we can overcome them. So again, nutritionmonth2015.ca for more information.
I've got a plastic cover on the wheel of my car, so I won't think it's a donut. That's part of the whole commuter. That explains the teeth marks. The computer crunch. Yeah. That's absolutely wonderful and a good idea, because it really is our rush lifestyle and that work. It's really where we have a tendency to go for what is the fastest, the quickest, the unhealthiest. Right? That's really what happens. Thank you, ladies. What else you got planned for the month? Anything big that's going to go on in workplaces? Are you going to come in here and show this crowd how to eat?
If you want us to.
Well, we're hoping to have some of the ministers sign proclamations as well. So we've asked the Minister of the new Department, Seniors, Wellness, Social Development.
That's a good one.
And we
Probably should. So we've had, like I said, the Minister of Seniors, Wellness, Social Development invited, and we were also inviting the Minister of Health and Community Services and the Minister with the Human Resource Secretariat, since obviously they look after the government employees' wellness, and since the theme is related to work, we think that would be a good tie-in.
That really is a good tie-in. It's I've not heard of this particular initiative till today, which is it's a really good initiative.
Yeah.
Healthy eating at work. Yeah, it's really good.
We spend so much of our time there, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, me too. Go sorry.
So that whole cherry cake thing at work before I got here today was like really not a good idea.
No.
It was a birthday. What? How do we handle that? It's a birthday.
Well, actually, there's a really interesting stat that says if you have a business that has at least 100 people, you're averaging about 8 birthdays a month or 8 pieces of cake a month. So they suggest having maybe a once-a-month celebration to celebrate everybody's birthday.
Madam CAO, Madam Clerk, they do one a month here for all the birthdays in the month.
As long as it's not my birthday, I'm okay.
So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And it's carrot cake, right? It's always carrot cake. No? No, it's never. I want to thank you, ladies, very, very much. Council, any comments at all?
Yes.
Councillor Tessier?
It was just yesterday that I had a conversation with T.A. Loeffler, who we all know is a huge outdoor enthusiast, very, very fit, very aware of her nutrition. And we talked about the workday, how difficult it is. And I mean, I work from home, so I have somewhat of an advantage.
Oh, you have it worse of
But
all.
you don't have time. Like, when do you have time? And we were talking about proteins at lunch, because I'm a firm believer in having a protein with every meal. And you're not cooking a steak at lunchtime. You're just not. So we were talking about different options for protein. So it's just so ironic that we're talking about this today. We're talking about quinoa and nuts and chickpeas and some really neat stuff. Don't screw up your face because it's really good for you.
No, you don't seem to understand. I haven't got the steak out of my head yet.
Sushi's really good too.
Or the donut that I have to drive home.
Right? But anyway, it's just so ironic that we're having this discussion because last night it was in my mind, okay, well, what can you do? What can you prepare in advance to have it ready? So all you got to do is reach for it, which is what I've been trying to do, is make it in advance and reach for it.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do is make it easy for yourself. So
Yeah.
it's just there and be available.
Yeah. So anyway, I think this is fantastic. I can't wait to go on the
Excellent.
website.
And I'm going to give this to you, Jason. We're going to go down front here, guys. Best. Yeah, we're going to go down here. Well, get in the center. One of you. No, let's stay this differently. Let's do it like this. We'll do that. Here, look. Hold on. There you go. Thank you, ladies. Good luck with your month. I don't know. It's hard to beat Toonie Tuesday. I don't. Just saying, if it's a competition and a war, there's some tough weapons out there lined up against you, isn't there? We did that, and we have, by the way, a 30-day challenge coming in April. Everybody is in on that, right? Everybody is in on the 30-day challenge in April. All of us are. Well, guess what? You're in. I've registered all of you. It's called punishment for what was done before. Sounds good, eh? Thank you, council, and thank you, ladies. And by the way, you haven't got to suffer through the rest of this meeting. You really don't. I am going to now ask for Linda Burns with Lawton's Home Health Care on Topsail Road, and Jean Ann Ryan with the lymphedema. She is the lymphedema nurse coordinator at the Cancer Care Center. I'm going to ask them to come forward, and we have a proclamation that we are going to read into the record here as well. And ladies, now that you've seen it, you're rehearsed. You know how this is going to work. Not too bad at all. Here we go. Whereas lymphedema is a debilitating condition characterized by an accumulation of lymphatic fluid that causes chronic swelling of the arms, legs, and other areas of the body. And whereas patients suffering from lymphedema may struggle with pain and swelling and may experience financial and psychological strains due to the difficulties of managing their condition. Whereas while there are cases of primary lymphedema that are inherited, most cases are secondary that developed as a result of trauma, infection, surgery, radiation therapy, or removal of lymph nodes. And whereas the removal of lymph nodes is typical in cancer-related surgery, some cancer survivors are predisposed to lymphedema. Whereas research about lymphedema has continued to grow, ensuring patients receive the best possible care. Whereas the launch of the newly formed Lymphedema Association of Newfoundland and Labrador will ensure all patients will have access to information, support, and treatment. And whereas the Lymphedema Association of Newfoundland and Labrador and the Canadian Lymphedema Framework promotes Lymphedema Awareness Day each year on March 6th to recognize patients and to raise awareness about this condition and the treatment option available. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Randy Sims, do hereby proclaim March 6th as National Lymphedema Awareness Day in the city of Mount Pearl, to which I shall affix a signature. And I'm going to invite Linda and Jean Ann to address your plans for the month.
So thank you for having us here today. I'm the lymphedema coordinator with Eastern Health. My position is at the Cancer Center, and as the mayor said, most patients that have lymphedema, which is a chronic, lifelong condition, are because of some form of cancer treatment. Typical lymph node removal, often very common in our breast cancer population, and also radiation therapy. It is a side effect of radiation therapy that we inform all our patients that have node removal and radiation that they are at risk. One of the things about lymphedema is that it's a lifelong condition, and it requires daily management, and we're very fortunate within our province that we have staff designated to help with that. Lymphedema awareness is an international day that is celebrated worldwide. In Canada and North America, we are very progressive with moving this forward from a research and an information sharing perspective. And Lymphedema Awareness Days is one day that we can honor per year, where we advocate on behalf of our patients and we increase awareness within our community. So we're doing proclamations in 3 of the cities. We are also doing a walk, March the 6th. We have a walk at Fieldhouse for our support group and healthcare professionals, such as Linda. I invited Linda here with me today because she works with Lawton's Home Healthcare, and she is a certified fitter, and she has some advanced practice education about lymphedema management, and we rely on her heavily at the Cancer Center. She's also a resident of Mount Pearl and is a very big supporter of Mount Pearl, so she's a good fit for me, being from Paradise.
So she's really good at it.
She's really good. So thank you very much, and this is my second time that we've done this here with the City of Mount Pearl, and it's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Ryan, very much. Before you go, we're going to get a picture taken. Before we do that, Councillor Tessier, I know this is, as they say, right up your alley, in your bailiwick, etc.
This is definitely in my wheelhouse, and I know both these women really well, and they are tremendous advocates for people who are living with lymphedema. I see it in my day job with my breast cancer patients, and it's a very funny thing. Like, you see people wearing the sleeves, you see people wearing the gauntlet. You see that in the community all the time, and you don't really sometimes appreciate what that can do to somebody in their life. I've had people say to me that their lymphedema is harder on them than their breast cancer was, because your breast cancer a lot of the times will come, be treated, and go, but lymphedema you live with for the rest of your days. And even as simple as taking an airplane trip can be very, very challenging on your body when you live with lymphedema. So I commend what you're doing. It's outstanding. It's always a risk when you have any kind of lymphatic treatment, lymphatic removal. So what you're doing is outstanding. It helps improve the lives of so many people who live with this condition. So keep doing what you're doing, and I will look forward to seeing you both in May.
That's that retreat thing again, isn't it?
It is.
All right, thank you, ladies. We're going to get a picture taken, and we'll do it the same way we did the other one, I think.
You did awesome.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Thanks, guys. Yeah, there's a lot of people don't know that's one of the byproducts of breast cancer. For a lot of people, is when you have lymph nodes removed. My wife, of course, experienced that back in 2006. She was very fortunate that at the end of the process, she had to go through a process with that and all, with the armbands and all that stuff and treatment, because they took lymph nodes. At the end, though, she really never encountered any problem with it, which is, we're thankful for every day. But as you say, like, it's 40-50% of the people who experience this. This is the residual, kind of like you're left with this forever. And it's not easy. Absolutely, I think. Yeah. So I think bringing awareness to it is more than appropriate, and we wish you the best of luck with the month. Thank you very much. With that, now we have one more presentation that we're going to deal with today, and this one is community-driven, and I'm not going to be engaged in it very much. We're going to turn things over to Councillor Ledwell. He's going to talk a little bit about a donation from our city staff, our social group, and our union, really, to the Newfoundland and Labrador Housing and Homelessness Network. And let's be honest, this was a fundraiser we all rather enjoyed, don't you think? Right? I'm not really that pleased that the Nutrition Month, the Nutrition Month people are still here, and they will judge what we did that morning harshly. I fear.
Yes.
It was not healthy eating at work, was it, guys? Oh, those sausages were wicked. What can I say? Councillor Ledwell, the floor is yours.
Your Worship, it's oddly appropriate that I'm speaking to this one, I guess. But in any case, first off, I want to say a word of welcome to Mr. David Murphy, who's here from the Newfoundland and Labrador Housing and Homelessness Network.
I recognize David down there in the back.
He's hiding in the back. We want to welcome David today. As you know, the Housing and Homelessness Network partners with CBC every year to organize a variety of CBC Newfoundland and Labrador pancake breakfasts for homelessness. This year's event, of course, was held last Tuesday, as the Mayor referenced, on the 17th, and the CBC event was held at the Bella Vista in St. John's. However, as they always do, our city staff and council here with the City of Mount Pearl stepped to the fore and got involved and organized their own pancake breakfast for all city staff and council, both here at City Hall as well as at our municipal depot in Donovan's. Staff organized the event, sold tickets, prepared the food, did the servicing of the tables, and of course the cleanup.
You got pictures.
We got pictures here. We have an illustrated presentation today. And of course the council contributed the food supplies for both breakfasts, both at City Hall and at the municipal depot. H. Neil Windsor Building. The H. Neil Windsor Building, that's correct, yeah, absolutely. City staff also organized a 50-50 draw to raise additional funds and arrange for the sale of the familiar red Raise the Roof toques, which were available at both events. I want to say a word of welcome today to Anne Finley, who's here to represent our staff, and Greg Pope, representing our union, of course. They're here to make the presentation to Mr. Murphy from the Housing and Homelessness Network. I want to let everybody know that the staff raised $870 through the fundraising events, and we did receive as well a $100 donation from the Mount Pearl Municipal Workers Union, CUPE Local 2099, bringing our total to $970. These proceeds, of course, are going to go to fight homelessness in Newfoundland and Labrador. So perhaps I can invite Mr. Murphy, Anne, and Greg forward. Mr. Murphy, you want to say a few words? Certainly welcome to. And I guess, as the Mayor would say, we'll get our snap toke.
Absolutely.
Or you'll get your snap toke.
No, we're going to get you to get your snap toke. You
Oh,
did
there
the
you
work
go.
here. David, we're going to let you come up and do this as well.
Your Worship, you should also know that Greg is our sharpshooter with our game against the City of St. John's when we play. No, I did not. He is a sharpshooter.
Is that right?
Oh, he is wicked.
Are you the reason why we keep kicking their rears?
He's a huge part of it.
I'm now officially a big fan. I need your T-shirt. Where's the jersey? Come on,
when I
guys.
come in and look at him, when the City of
got-
St. John's is talking smack on the sidelines, and I come in and look at that young fellow and say, "Don't
Well,
you
hey,
dare
he's-
hold back."
He's wearing his Safety the Snowplow T-shirt today. All right, who's going to do the talking here? Either of you want to do any talking? David, it's going to be you. David, there you go.
Thank you, Mayor Sims. Good to see you again, sir.
Always.
Thanks, everybody. Pleasure to be here today, and again, to have the continued support of the City of Mount Pearl for our annual pancake breakfast. This is not the first time we've partnered with you. It goes back a number of years now, and we were even a part of the Frosty Festival this year with an event at the Church of the Ascension, so that went very well as well. So thank you to the city staff and everyone that participated to make all this happen. If everybody did this kind of support across the province, we'd be winning this battle a lot better than we are. So we thank you for taking the effort each and every year. I just want to mention that we're having a big provincial conference coming up, and I've extended an invitation to the city via Mr. Yevchek for a seat available there, and things are happening. So your efforts and fundraising abilities are going to help us help those who are working on the front lines addressing housing and homelessness.
So how are we doing on? homelessness?
Well, things are changing, and there's an increased focus on housing and homelessness at all levels. And I know the federal government has just made a 5-year commitment to a housing first approach, which is going to mean more people.
That's part of the Canadian mental health. That's the new mental health strategy.
Yes, based on that model.
Housing first and then address everything after.
Exactly.
Right? I think that's a really good plan.
And the province has just released a new report from a outside consultant, and that's now available online. And I think we'll see an increased partnership between the province and the feds on working in that direction as well. And that's one of the reasons we're going to be getting together very soon and discussing those issues in a common forum. So it's going to take everybody, including municipalities, to see what's possible. Encourage the City of Mount Pearl to consider what's possible through maybe available lands or other alleviation of fees and this things to help builders and developers look at affordable housing. So really put your heads around what's possible in building more affordable housing. That would be one of the messages I bring here today, that it's going to take all of us to get those solutions.
Well, David, thank you very much. We've done one. Well, we're in the middle of doing one where we actually did do exactly that. We gave up land and we're going to put in and fees and other things to encourage the development of an affordable housing project, which is going to, I think we end up with 42. Is it 42 units we end up with, or 26 units? It's 18 and 8, right? It's 26 units in the first one. We're obviously looking to do another. I'll tell you, David, the thing that I've been made aware of in the last month or so, as a result of all of the pancake breakfasts we've had and the discussion in the media that's gone on, and this latest report on the mental health situation in our community, is that an awful lot of the homelessness challenge is among our young people. It's a real problem of youth. So that our staff, our employees, our union, that they all see the need and ask everyone to respond. And us, we get up and come down and eat breakfast is easy. You know, it's nothing to it. Our heartfelt thanks to them. They make us proud every day, and we hope that this little token helps move the matter along. You know, one day maybe we won't have to do this. Maybe everybody will truly have a roof over their head. You know,
Thank you.
We're going to get a picture, and they're going to give you some money. So we're going to get you out here, Andrew, and yeah, we want everybody here. Julia did some cooking, didn't she?
Julia's great behind the scenes.
Hold on. Wasn't Julia responsible for those wicked sausages?
Say yes, Julia.
German pancakes. Not a calorie in them, right?
There is
Very healthy.
Those are the ones that I had.
We should have had all the council in this picture. Oh, yes, you got to present. One more. Step around. You're a good hockey player, right?
He's a wicked hockey player.
We've never won that thing. We never lost that thing, have we? Well, there'd be an idea. Hey?
See you later, ladies.
Thank you, ladies, very much. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Well done. Thank you, David. Thank you, guys. Good job. Good job.
Great job.
Made us proud. And that concludes our presentations. We do have one piece of correspondence for you today that we are tabling, and it is a letter from the Honorable Candace Bergen, who is the Minister of State on Social Development, and it is a letter regarding affordable housing and the need for a new national affordable housing program in the province of Newfoundland. In this letter, the Minister reminds us that they are now making a combined investment over the next 4 years or 5 years of about $68 million in affordable housing. It sounds like an impressive amount of money, but when you think about it on a national scale, it's not a lot. It's better than none. You know, you have a question? Go ahead. Councilor Tessier.
Is it not a federal initiative to roll back the amortization period on a mortgage? Was that not the federal government's decision?
What do you mean?
To roll it back from 30 years to 25. Yes. So that makes it, yeah, so that makes it very difficult for young people, particularly starting off, who want to purchase a home, especially with today's housing prices. It makes it very difficult for young people who want to purchase a home. So I'd like for the federal government to recognize that this is good stuff, but they're also responsible for making decisions that makes it very difficult for young people to start off with a home. If they're making amortization periods go from 30 years back to 25. And we all know the responsibility factor. We all understand that. We understand the interest rate factor and all of that. But sometimes, again, this market, when you look at a house that you could purchase for $150,000 20 years ago, and now it's worth $300,000, $350,000, $400,000, it makes it very challenging.
Yes, it does, and there are a bunch of issues surrounding that piece of the housing or affordable housing market. That's a huge concern. And certainly for us in our community, as was identified in the study that was done a couple of years ago, that quite frankly you champion, Councillor, is that one of the more challenging groups that face housing issues are seniors in our community. And I've slidden into the role. And you recognize that I'm now officially in a house I shouldn't be in. A 5-bedroom home, and there's me and the boss, and that's it. And there's some nice young family somewhere with 2 kids could really use that house. And I have no problem going. But if I've got to sell the house and then add 30 grand to go buy something else, there's an imbalance in the market that hasn't been rectified yet. The solutions that have been offered up to now, including the ones referenced by the Honourable Minister here, don't really address, it doesn't solve the problem, I guess is what we're saying. Anyway, anybody with a comment? Well, a housing man.
I can't resist.
Councillor Aker, well, you're in the housing market with Newfoundland Housing. Go for it.
We all fall into the trap, and this letter is just lip service, Your Worship.
Well, I'm trying to be nice, Councillor.
Yeah, you are, but
right.
The prayer of our petition here was that basically to help co-op housing.
Yes.
Which was started back in the 70s and 80s, of which 80% of the Newfoundland stock, by the way, is in the city of Mount Pearl.
Is it 80%? I thought it was 50%.
Yeah, no, 80% of the stock on a percentage basis. Yeah,
wow.
Is here in Mount Pearl. The federal government has withdrawn from this. Back in the 90s, they no longer fund it. And whenever you ask the federal government to continue providing subsidies beyond the maturity date of the loans, the feds love it when we start talking about new affordable housing, when we start talking about social housing, when we start talking about amortization and interest rates and the price of housing. But the bottom line, there's not one sentence here that dealt with the request or the problem, except basically in the second last paragraph, where they can retain some of the money. Third last paragraph,
yep.
Where the co-ops, if they have any surpluses at the end of the maturity date of their loans or of their mortgages, they're now allowed to use that towards the upkeep and maintenance and upgrading of their houses. But the bottom line is that they don't have surpluses. Low-income housing does not create tremendous profits like it does in the private sector. So they're basically saying there's a solution here, but where would low-income households living in a co-op who are struggling now with the current subsidies, which are about to end, where would they get the money? So I know I'm on a bit of a rant, Your Worship, but I look at the letter and basically it's crafted for a different purpose. It's designed to talk about the good the federal government is trying to do with regards to affordable housing in this province, and we're part of that with the Municipal Avenue project. But the reality is that in terms of social housing and co-op housing, the federal government has been getting out of that since the mid-90s, and they no longer are becoming the primary subsidizer of housing in this country. It's all left up to the provinces. So I guess at the end of the day, the provinces will have to step up. That's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir, very much. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, we will move on. I do believe that the first committee report today, Community Services, Deputy Mayor Locke.
Well, let's move from a negative topic to something a little more positive, Your Worship. Sorry about that, Councillor Aker. The first item, Your Worship, 3 items here. The first has to do with the Frosty Festival 2015 operating grant. Committee is recommending approval for the release of the second.
You feel that paying out money is a positive, do you?
Well, consider the work they did this year and the success of the festival. Absolutely. I have no trouble recommending this. So this will be the second installment, Your Worship, and it's in the amount of $17,500, and I so move.
It is moved by Deputy Mayor Locke. It is seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Question or comments? Other than, I suppose, for all of us, we all agree on this. This was one outstanding festival.
And we'll end it tomorrow night.
And we're going to end it tomorrow night.
Yep.
Everybody going to the dinner theater tomorrow? Yeah, it should be good. Should be good. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Carried.
The next item, Your Worship, has to do with our Citizen of the Year awards. We're just encouraging our residents to nominate an outstanding citizen. We know there's dozens and dozens of people out in our community that do great work every year, but we find it a hard time getting people to come forth or bring their neighbours or their friends or their families forward. So we're encouraging people to identify, take the time to nominate an outstanding citizen. Each year, a resident of Mount Pearl is named the Mount Pearl Citizen of the Year, and this event is held annually during Volunteer Week, and of course it's hosted by the Kinsman Club of Mount Pearl in partnership with the city. And just to note, Your Worship, the deadlines for nominations for this year is March the 13th of 2015, and for eligibility information and nomination forms, you can visit the city's website, or you can call the city at 748-1008, and the contact person is Krista Tucker, and we can email her as well, ktucker@mountpearl.ca. So encouraging people to get out there and nominate someone in our city.
So have any of you got any citizens in mind?
Normally they come quite a bit, quite often from our service clubs.
Right.
Church groups and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a nice big nomination batch, wouldn't you, this
big
year?
turnout, yeah. Because there's so many deserving people out there. We just got to get people to...
It's quite amazing, actually, how many are out there, but you need the organizations and others to say,
and
that they're going to do it. And a lot of people, of course, because of their volunteers, they don't even want to be nominated.
Right.
They're not comfortable with it.
Right. They don't want the attention or the accolades. Or
They're not like counselors, are they?
Well, like some anyways.
Okay, March 13th. There will be a great lineup.
The next item, Your Worship, has to do with the Focus on Youth Awards, and a similar sort of thing here in terms of getting nominations for this. I mean, I work in the school system, and we're in the process now of encouraging not only our teachers but also students to nominate and recognize their fellow students and youth in Mount Pearl. The Focus on Youth Awards, Your Worship, are designed to honor the youth, and I think the City of Mount Pearl does a very good job with that. The amount of time and energy that we devote and dedicate to our youth. So this is one of the highlights on the calendar year for me, to come out and celebrate our youth. And of course we also celebrate any adults that also work with our youth, who make outstanding contributions to the community in the various areas: arts, sports, self-improvement, and volunteerism. Youth group leaders, teachers, coaches, anyone involved with the youth are encouraged to participate, again, as we pay tribute to our city's youth each year. Deadline for nominations is March the 2nd, so fast approaching, and there are 16 awards being presented. Again, we're asking folks to take the time to visit the city's website for nominations packages and forms, or they can drop by the Summit Center for these forms. And for more information, they can call the city at 748-1010. Gary Fraser's the contact here. Gary's been doing great work on this for all these years. gfraser@mountpearl.ca. And a special thank you, Your Worship, to the supporting businesses and major sponsors, the Newfoundland Credit Union, Eastern Audio Limited, and Smitty's Family Restaurant, who support this so generously each year. And that's it for us, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. We get such tremendous Youth of the Year, though, don't we?
Absolutely.
Young Lauren Windsor and Colin, they're outstanding. Colin Hunt, they're outstanding young people. We just had their families to dinner, and they do such tremendous stuff. It's great.
To see what they do. Like when you see some of the forms that these kids submit, it's absolutely amazing.
Pretty impressive.
What these young people are doing.
We are moving now to corporate services. Councillor Aker.
Thank you, Your Worship. 2 items here for approval under invoices. We met only last week, so there's not really a lot of activity since. 2 invoices totaling $35,668.50, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Infrastructure, Public Works, Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of items, and I'll deal with them quickly. The first one is for the City Hall generator. We had an automatic transfer switch that we were planning to put in with a bypass unit, which simply meant that when the switching system or the generator had to be worked on, it didn't interfere with the power source in the main building. but because of space restrictions and the electrical panel, we had to put one in now with no bypass, which means when we do have to maintain that system or the generator, it will impact power, so we do it after hours. This would be a very, very infrequent thing, but we do it after hours on a weekend or in the evening, whatever the case may be. And I said that would be very minimal in terms of disruption, and we would be able to inform people when that would take place, probably even only once a year, as infrequently as that. So we need approval for the expenditure, and I so move.
Moved and second. It's a credit.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is a
so
credit.
We need a motion to take back $6,000.
I think we need a motion for that because we had actually spent the money to purchase this originally, or did we not? What was the original contract value?
X plus $6,400.
That makes sense. Okay, so it is a credit, and so do we need a motion for this? Or
I'm looking at. I'm saved, John. I'm going really.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Okay, so
It's
we'll make the motion for a $6,400 credit, and I so move. I'm pleased to move that. Actually.
Absolutely. It is moved and it is second. I don't suppose there's anything we really want to discuss other than it is this generator piece all comes from Dark-NL, right? We're making some changes to emergency preparedness. We're making some changes.
And what it does, Your Worship, it provides.
If we ever have another Dark-NL, we'll handle it. It'll be easier.
Well, it provides backup support not only in this building, but we have the same. We have another system at the Windsor building as well, and in both locations now. In the event of an emergency disruption,
both buildings are
we
up
have
and
the generator supplies
really
hooked up. So it is a very positive story.
Excellent, and that's been carried and passed.
Yep. Second information is a little bit of disappointing news, but we have been working with the Multi-Material Stewardship Board. We've been assessing our intake of the volume of recyclables. It seems to be diminishing, dropping a little bit, which is discouraging. I know that this is done over a longitudinal period of time, so most people, for example, like ourselves, will sometimes put recyclables out once every 2 or maybe even 3 weeks,
every
particularly
2 weeks in my case.
Particularly in the wintertime. We normally would have put them out last Friday, but because of the wind on that day, we said, now let's just hold them and put them out for the following week. So every second or third week works for most people. But I think these studies are over a longer period of time. So there's definitely a drop. It's not like the audit was done on a single day or a single week. It's over a period of weeks and months. And we need to encourage people to recycle, to participate in both the fiber and the plastic recycling programs. Put them in the clear blue bags, put them out on the curb, make sure they're collected. Not only is it a great asset in terms of the environment, but of course there is a legitimate cost saving as well. And when we have diversion away from the landfill, there's savings we pay per ton. Sometimes when you lift the recyclables, particularly the plastics, they don't weigh much, but I can tell you the fibers, the papers, and the cardboards, they definitely do. So anything that we can do that would divert from the landfill is a good thing. So I'd encourage people at this time to fully participate, get engaged. If you're one of those people who have been a little bit, a little bit on the downside in terms of being attentive to this, why don't you mention it to everybody in the household to try to make sure that you do re-engage in the recycling efforts. It's very important that we do that.
Yeah, I'm of the belief, Councillor Walsh, that our containerized system, which is such a huge success, this is one of the little kind of byproducts of
I don't
it just
disagree.
makes it so easy for people not to. I think it does.
Yep.
We're going to have to do another education campaign, there's no doubt. And we're going to have to call in some outside forces to help us with that, I think, to get that message. Because I think that's all it really needs, I think, is to have the message sunk in.
Yeah, I think it is an educational piece, and I don't disagree at all that it's too easy now with the containers to put, just slide things in there. It's not about that. It's not about policing it or anything of that nature, but it's about doing your part to help the environment. It really is. But it does, those containers kind of hide the crime a little bit more, and that's a little bit disappointing, obviously.
Oh, I like that line. Don't hide the crime.
Yeah, for sure.
Recycle.
Winter maintenance.
With our container there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little update on that. We've in fact in the Westminster area today, we had the snow blowers over there, and we're doing cutbacks throughout the entire city. We do have a little bit of a reprieve this week, although you'd never say it by looking out at the blowing snow this afternoon. It didn't really amount to much, just a centimeter or two, but when it drifts and blows, it becomes a bit of a problem, and it looks a lot worse than what it is. But we are making progress. We're cutting back. We're doing the sidewalk clearing. We're widening out streets in residential areas. All the main thoroughfares have now been completed. Crews are also monitoring our storm sewer drains. Particularly, we get on the East Coast, as you know, a lot of rainy weather when quite often Central and West get snow. So when we get a mix of rain and snow, we really need to watch the storm drains and make sure that they're clear. This has been a very challenging year for our mechanical crews. We were short-staffed a little bit, and during that one storm the week before last, we were really hard-pressed to try to keep pace with that. But our crews are doing a great job, and we're turning around repairs very, very quickly. So generally speaking, we're on top of everything, thanks to our director and our staff up at the Windsor building. They're working hard, as they always do this time of the year, and we've had some particular challenges, but there are always challenges when you're dealing with these kinds of things. We just work our way through them and do the best we can with what we have, and that continues to be the story throughout this winter. Thanks very much, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Walsh. I'm sure that that Mr. Randall is passing on to our crews how much we appreciate the work and the effort, and we keep waving the flag, they keep doing the job. It's wonderful. Thank you for that. Moving on, our next committee, Planning and Development, Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. First item that we have is an application from C&W Offshore at 16 Lindros Place to operate a sandblasting and paint shop. Now, of course, given the time sensitivity of this application, we did, as you'll recall, discuss this matter at our Committee of the Whole meeting last week. Direction was given after the discussion to issue the development permit, and now we're bringing the application forward today to be ratified, if you will. Of course, this property is located within the industrial light use zone. It is considered a potentially hazardous industry use, and it is therefore a discretionary use in that zone, and it did require a public process. The applicant is proposing to operate the sandblast and paint shop in the secondary building on the site. We did have a briefing session on December 2nd of 2014. As well, the city contacted Service, Newfoundland and Labrador about the proximity of the proposed development to the Trans-Canada Highway. As well, the city contacted the Department of Environment and Conservation regarding the potential environmental impacts of the proposed paint and sandblasting facility. The applicant did follow up, of course, and submit a package of information to the Department of Environment and Conservation in January of 2015. Getting back to the briefing session, we did have two business owners from the City of Mount Pearl who attended the briefing session. A number of concerns were outlined, including the potential impact of the vapors and fumes escaping from the facility and their impact on the environment and some of the other tenants in the building. Following a request for some more information from the proponent and a further review, C&W Offshore did in fact receive their release for the project from the Department of Environment and Conservation earlier this month. The release is subject to the condition that the proposed operation be subject to the Environmental Protection Act, the Water Resources Act, as well as the Wildlife Act. As noted, the proposal requires a permit from Service NL due to it being a potentially hazardous use and being located within 35 kilometers from an exit from the Trans-Canada Highway. Service NL has granted approval in principle, conditional on the application meeting all other requirements set forth from all regulatory bodies. The proponent has met with city staff on site and has committed to addressing any and all issues that were identified in the briefing session and through all of the various permitting processes that it had to go through. And so given this meeting that happened with staff and this commitment from the developer, as well given the release from Environment and Conservation, as well as the approval in principle from the Service NL Department, the committee is prepared to recommend ratification of the approval for the issuance of a development permit for sandblasting and spray painting use in the secondary building at 16 Lindros Place, subject to all the conditions outlined above, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
Moving right along very quickly, Your Worship, we have a very short period as we only met last week, but for the development permit list you'll see we have 3 permits to bring forward, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Walsh. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
And finally, Your Worship, once again, a very short period for our building permit totals on the residential side. We did have a total for the period of February 16th to the 20th of $44,000, and I so move.
Moved, seconded, all in favor? Contrary-minded, carried.
And that concludes planning.
Thank you, and that concludes the, I believe, all of the committee reports that we have for this week. Moving on to new business, Deputy Mayor.
Just a couple of items, Your Worship. Firstly, I just want to throw out another bouquet to Samantha Marsh, the flag bearer and Mount Pearl sharpshooter. She won a second gold, yes?
Yes.
Up away.
Did it again.
Did it again. So
Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge her publicly for her accomplishments as well as her team. The second item, Your Worship, has to do a question from actually a couple of residents who walk the regular loop up Smallwood Drive Extension, Old Placenta Road, that area, and they question the state of the sidewalks. They're all cracked up, and they asked me to raise it. I said I would. The upper part. Just wondering as to, I know we have a turnaround time in replacing those sidewalks. Just wondering where that is. I'm going to throw it out to Director Antle if he can check, and probably bring it back next meeting. They're curious as to when they're going to be completed. I mean, I was out for a walk last evening as well, and as I was going through, I thought back to the lady that took me on that tour one time, Your Worship, in the motorized scooter. Yep. And the state that the sidewalks are in right now, they're virtually impassable for anybody in such a device. They would have to go out on the road on that side of Smallwood Drive. So just a question they wondered as to where on the list it is to get those done. And if it's further down the list, I know we have a list to go through for our sidewalks and our streets and stuff like that. I know we do it systematically. But their concern was, given the state of it, could that somehow be given a special priority, given the amount of pedestrian traffic that takes place in that area. So I just wanted to raise that tonight. That's it from me, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Stoyles.
I have a couple of things. I too wanted to mention Samantha March, lovely young lady from Mount Pearl getting 2 gold medals. It's certainly an honour to win one, but to get 2, she must be very proud. She was even on the news and CBC and NTV News being interviewed, and she's certainly very well spoken, did a fantastic job, and it's great we'll say that she was from our city. Also, Your Worship, I wanted to mention happened to be at a bridal shower on Sunday afternoon when somebody came in to the soccer hut and said some cars have been broken into, the police is being called, and to go out and check your car, and apparently there was 3 young people out there, and the police was called and came and everything. I don't really know what became of it or how many cars actually got broken into, but there was 2 events on the go, the bridal shower that I was at and a baby shower at the men's ball hut, and cars, must have been 150 cars over there, and I'm just wondering how often this happens, because there were certainly concerns from the people over there. So I just wanted to mention that. And the last thing I have to mention is the Mount Pearl Connect Club. This past Saturday, the Mount Pearl Connect Club honoured one of their own. Barb Garland became a lifetime member. Barb has been a member of the Mount Pearl Connect Club for 23 years. She has taken part and been on the executive in every role on the executive. She's chaired many projects, catered and done so much work. When you talk about a community volunteer and a citizen there, I mean, Barb Garland certainly fits the role, so maybe it'd be a good suggestion for the Connect Club Mount Pearl to put Barb's name forward. But she certainly has done so much for her community and for the province. She served on a couple of international committees representing the Connect Club Mount Pearl, and the Connect Club Mount Pearl is so proud to have Barb Garland as a lifetime member. They only have 4 other members actually. The first one I remember going to was John's sister, Mary Elizabeth Furlan, who became the first ever lifetime member of the Connect Club in Mount Pearl.
I think I was at that one. I remember that.
I had
yeah.
just joined Connects at that time, and the year before, the Connects had made me an honorary Connect, and one of the first events I went to was when Mary Elizabeth became a lifetime member, and Gail Breton and Michelle Case, and that's it.
And now Barb.
And now Barb Garland. So it's not something that they take on very lightly. I've been part of the Connect Club now for almost 20 years. So it's not something that they do every year, and it comes with a great honour to be a life member of the Connect Club. And there was many messages from all across Canada and even the United States from different clubs, and because Barb has taken part in many conventions over her lifetime, and she was a very proud Connect.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. Councillor Walsh.
Just one quick thing, Your Worship, and it's sort of related to the Kinsman Connects. They hosted on Saturday past a Day of Kindness. They do that every year. I think you were involved up at Crede Manor. This year they chose two places, Crede Manor and Hillcrest. My buddy Wayne Evans and I provided a little bit of musical entertainment up at Hillcrest on Saturday. And Andrew and Patricia Warford were involved with a little bit of foolishness in the form of a skit. But again, kudos to the Kinsmen and Connects for organizing it. I think they had some corporate help as well with some of the food from Dominion, Loblaws. So I just want to thank them as well. But just to take the time to do that in the middle of the winter and organize a day of kindness, as they call it. I think every day is a day of kindness, or should be. But this was a day where they reach out, they get out to some of the seniors' homes in Mount Pearl, and they actually bring a little bit of cheer and some activities, some music, and some food into their lives. Some of them need it more than others, as you can appreciate, but all of them appreciate it, and they really had a great day on Saturday. So thanks to Andrew as well, but a particular thanks to the Kinsmen and Connects for organizing that.
That's
It was a great gesture.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to add to that. I also wanted to thank Jim Greenland. Jim did the music up at Crede Manor, and that's where, because they divided the Connects between both places, and the Kinsmen and Crede Manor had Jim Greenland, and he did a fantastic job. Actually, there's some pictures and that on Facebook with him singing.
Very good, very good. So Andrew and Tricia are becoming the new.
I wasn't there.
No, you didn't make the cut, obviously. So Andrew and Tricia are quickly becoming Mount Pearl's answer to Corey and Trina. Is that what we've got happening here?
We're going to give them one of those names like they give the celebrities.
We got to give names like them. Andrew and Tricia. It would be Antrash.
Who's next? Who's next? Hurry up, stand up.
Okay, let's put an end to that one right now.
Councillor Tessier.
I just very quickly want to echo Councillor Stoyle's comments about Barb Garland. It was a really beautiful event to be a part of.
Did she know, by the way? Did she know?
She did not. She was so surprised.
I always wonder if they know. They're not supposed to.
And Barb cries at the drop of a hat.
Yes.
So when she walked in, she was all dressed up because she thought it was a founder's dinner. So when she walked in and she realized that we were all there and what we were there for, she was really just totally taken aback. So all the Connects are lining up to give her a hug at the very start of it. And then someone says to her, "Oh, your family is here." And she said, "No, they're going to have for Chinese food." And we said, no.
They're all here.
They're right there. So it was a really beautiful night. But you often hear about years of service and years of commitment to your community. But they did a slideshow. And they had these pictures where, you could tell they're old pictures, and they're pictures of 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And then when you actually really do get to appreciate the scope of the amount of time that somebody commits when they join an organization like this and they put their whole heart into it. So when you see these pictures that are 20 years old and more than that, you can really appreciate that they're still doing it. They did it, and they're still doing it, and please God, she's going to do it for a long time yet, because she is irreplaceable. And I just wanted to extend congratulations.
Thank you very, very much. Councillor Aker.
Yeah, I won't go over anything else that was already mentioned. Just want to mention one thing for council and the community. The Mount Pearl Paradise Skating Club is going to have their ice show on the 21st of March. I think it's coming up. It'll be held at Glacier. There's 2 shows this year because the club has really grown because of where they're taking in both Paradise and Mount Pearl. And the treat this year will be Caitlin Osmond, a Canadian champion, will be skating the showcase skate during each show, so that will be a must-have ticket. So everybody here is invited. I'm sure
That'll
Perry,
be
Dalton,
a-
and them. You'll get a formal invitation. From
That'll
the
be a
skating club.
must-have ticket
It'd be
as
nice
well.
to see
Yeah.
the community come out and support that. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. That's
Thank
it.
you. Thank you very much. Councillor Ledwell, or is it...
Corey.
We got to come up with a name for them. Andrew and Trish. It's got to be a...
If we're going to be Corey and Trina, I want to be Corey, if that's okay.
Okay, you're in. We'll let you be Corey.
Your Worship, I'm going to be brief because, of course, we've all talked about most of what I had on my list this evening. But, of course, I do want to congratulate Samantha Marsh once again for the gold medal. I believe she has the only 2 gold medals for the province of Newfoundland and Labrador at Canada Games. Last I saw, she did anyhow.
Yeah.
So that's just fantastic. As well, I wanted to congratulate Barb Garland. I didn't get down to the event on Saturday, but I know she's heavily involved in the Canet Club, and I did get the opportunity to send a little note down of congratulations. So I hope she had a great evening and she enjoyed herself, because it's certainly well deserved. As well, I do want to congratulate as well the Kinsmen and Canets for their Day of Kindness event that they did have, that Councillor Walsh referenced. Job well done, sir, on the music once again. Johnny, even without his angels, apparently is a real entertainer. And I know that Tricia and I, or Trina, should I say, certainly, and Pat, there you go. We certainly appreciate the invitation from Richard and all the gang to go down and participate in that. It's always a great bit of fun. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Before I talk about the 2 little items I got, I'm going to go back to the Deputy Mayor, because he admits that he forgot something.
Yes. The 40th anniversary celebrations for Mount Vermont Hockey Association. We had the Winter Classic planned for the past week, and unfortunately the weather didn't cooperate.
We had a thaw.
The forecast was such. It wasn't supposed to get as warm as it did on Friday, and it wasn't supposed to last as long. It was supposed to drop off afterwards. So they initially canceled the Friday afternoon or Friday evening skate, but then Saturday was to the point that they decided to postpone it. But I do want to acknowledge that they were very appreciative of the work that the city provided for in kind, for helping check the ice to make sure it was safe and clear the ice. But the temperatures just didn't drop quickly enough to do that, to freeze it over. Today would have been a great day to have it.
Today it would have worked.
But I got to say that the number of calls, the children were just so excited, because we take it for granted. At least I do, because growing up in Mount Pearl, we played, and Mr. Antle and I spoke of this. We played on Branscomb's Pond, and we played on Steady Waters, and up on George's Pond on top of the hill. That was a regular event for us to skate outdoors on the pond. But a lot of these kids don't get this chance, so they were very excited that they were going to have an opportunity to skate outdoors. But unfortunately, like I said, we could have had the swimming. I do want to mention as well, Your Worship, that there is a big gala planned for March the 28th for the 40th anniversary up at the Reed Centre. So they're launching the Hall of Fame, Mount Pearl Minor Hockey Hall of Fame. So they're looking at inducting 15 members on that particular night in the builders category, the coaches category, and the players category. So that will be a big event as well. And also this Saturday, Mount Pearl Minor Hockey is having their annual appreciation night at the Reed Community Centre. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. But again, a lot of effort went in. It was going to be a big event. We had Jonathan Crow was all excited about coming out. St. John's Regional Fire were going to bring up the hovercraft to display water safety. We had a drone planned. Some guy was going to bring his drone to get some aerial shots for us. Dominion came on board. They offered their parking lot up there in the business park for any overflow parking. So we were looking at several thousand people that were going to come out to this, and it's just too bad, like we said, that it didn't work out. They are hoping, I'll throw it out there now, to tie it in with the Frosty Festival next year, if the weather permits, to have like a hockey event, but also an outdoor skating event. Again, depending on the weather and if the weather permits. And the only way we can do this is if we get a week-long forecast that's going to be sub-zero, where we say, okay, we know it's going to be good and cold. The ice was not the thickness of the ice wasn't an issue. We drilled, I think, 15 holes, and the ice was 13 to 16 inches thick. So there was plenty of ice up on Powers Pond, but it was just the condition of the ice with the thaw and the slush and the water and stuff like that. So hopefully we can make it happen for the Frosty Festival next year. That's what they're aiming towards.
That'd be good.
Yep.
Take on Paradise, St. John's, beat them all.
There you go. Thank you.
CBS, have a tournament. Oh, hold on. That sounds like Battle of the Brains. We haven't won that in years. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, very much. It's only a couple of things I want to mention, and everybody has passed on and recognized everything here that I really had, other than save two things. One is, as all of council is aware, there has been a debate over the last week in this region over the 911 emergency system. The City of St. John's, which is the lead agency out of the three communities that actually make up regional fire, that being Mount Pearl, Paradise, and St. John's, find ourselves in a unique position of being in a negotiation with the province over taking responsibility for 911 for all of the Avalon. In fact, for 50% of the population in the province, and finding ourselves in the uncomfortable position of not being able to come to terms on a contract. It has fallen off the rails, for the want of a term. Talks broke down, they stalled. The mayors met late last week to discuss this matter, to see whether or not there was an avenue whereby we could pursue some kind of result that would be satisfactory to all of the parties concerned. This really does come down to a debate about control, not so much about a debate about the City of St. John's always wants control. That seems to be our song most of the time. This is an example, though, of where the Regional Service Board is being asked to take on a responsibility that is somewhat significant, I think it's fair to say, and to give up control of the intellectual properties, the processes, and the budget of the operation entirely, which was not acceptable at the time and not acceptable to now. I spoke with Mayor O'Keefe today and with Mayor Bobbitt today. We are all of the same mind as it relates to this. However, we understand that pretty well while I'm talking to you now, if the Premier has gotten back from Washington, a meeting is underway involving the Mayor of St. John's and the Premier to see if they can come to some terms. So I wanted to pass that on to Council. I'm optimistic that we will have a solution to this problem, hopefully tonight, if we can. To let you know as well that while I was away this weekend, I was in Stephenville on the West Coast. Boy, we think we got snow. Let us not complain. They have a tremendous amount of snow. While we were there, a couple of very interesting things came up that I think will be of interest to Mount Pearl. One was a presentation on climate change, the impact that it's having on municipal government by the Climate Change Office here in the province. It gave us the opportunity, not just Mount Pearl, but several other of the large urban towns, to lay some pressure on the fact that we need updated flood mapping on our river. They recognize that. It is a development problem for us now. People trying to come into this region, to Paradise and St. John's and Mount Pearl, who wish to build near that river. It creates a problem for us because, quite frankly, all of the needed information is not as up to date as it should be, part of which is the floodplain mapping that is required, which they recognize needs to be done. So that was one of the good things that we did there. And Mount Pearl has volunteered our great staff here. We have voluntold our great staff here that we are putting forward from M&L a project on asset management planning, which we're a part of. And we want to do three communities, one small, tiny one mid-sized community, and a large one. And certainly we put our name, most of us did, and said as the larger communities we're prepared to do it and come up with what would be a template for here's what an asset management plan should look like for your community so that you qualify for your gas tax funding, etc. And where we're going to run into a problem is with the smaller towns, right? So we have volunteered basically to say when M&L, who are going to get some funding for this, to do this asset management planning pilot, goes about doing it, we stand ready to provide some staff. After all, if we can send them to the Philippines, and if we can send them to, where was it, St. Lucia, and we can send them to wherever, I think we can send them down on the coast to help a small town. So anyway, just to let you know that those things went on this weekend. Did I sound jealous because I didn't go to St. Lucia? Is that what it was? We are. No. We sent him to Palestine and he started a war. We can't let him go there anymore. That's it for me. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. It is moved by Councillor Stoyles. We stand adjourned.